already been a bit late, so sorry about that. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is a renowned monk, author, a life coach, and a mentor and guide for many devotees around the world. He's got a prolific background when it comes to connecting with the business professionals, students, entrepreneurs all around the world. He's a regular speaker at large organizations like Microsoft, Salesforce, and also some of renowned universities like Yale, Stanford. And he regularly travels extensively around the world. Right now he is visiting US, Canada, and he's going to be with us just for 2 days. He'll be leaving on Monday. We actually got him directly from the airport to be here with all of you. And he's written over 30 books. Many of them are very practical and addresses a lot of the contemporary issues. If you see his Instagram social media handle, you'll see how up-to-date Prabhu is. Sometimes I get to know about world news through Prabhu's social media handle. So let's give a big round of applause to welcome him. Prabhu, the format I believe is you all have written some questions for Prabhu.
So we put in an anonymous form.
I got it.
For okay, yes.
I got that.
Oh, you got it. Okay, perfect.
Can this come on this side if possible?
Sure. Then?
No, this stand.
Oh, the mic, yeah.
Also, can you put the camera in such a way that this also is visible?
Yeah.
Maybe I can come closer to that. Or we can pull that closer to it, whatever you want to do. You need to change the angle of the camera, the position, whatever. Or there are questions here also?
So
It's the same questions
same questions
that I have sent you.
Okay. Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand your wisdom and be drawn closer to you through that wisdom. Hare Krishna. I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. And so I'll use a little bit, I'll write or draw certain things to explain a few concepts. So here, I already had gone to some of the questions. I'll start with a few questions, and if you have any follow-up questions based on what I'm speaking, feel free to ask them. There's one question about, that, okay, we said things in this world are temporary, but then we need to live in this world, in this body. So, do we neglect the temporary? How do we look at the world and its temporariness? Yeah, so basically, when there is a temporary and there is the eternal. Now, in the Gita's philosophy, both of these are real.
Prabhu, it's not visible.
Okay, so what happened exactly? Is this wirelessly connected?
Yes.
I think the wireless connection went off over here.
Yes. I think it's zoomed in. It's 370% zoomed in.
No, but that's not something which I can do anything about it. Because... No, I just disconnected it.
It's 292, so maybe, yeah.
That's okay, this is full screen. It's a large screen. Let's try now once again. Sri TV? Is it Sri TV?
Yeah, it's saying it's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's see. So, nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. Ubhayor api drishtonta swanayo satadarshi. Krishna says, Ubhayo, there are two truths. The temporary is also true, the eternal is also true. So, but there are two ways in which this could work. That the temporary can take us toward the eternal, or the temporary can take us away from the eternal. Right now, we live in the temporary world. And there is no way we get to the eternal. If we are here right now, there is no way like this to go to the eternal world. We can't turn away from this world to go to the eternal world. We have to go through this world to get to the eternal world. And that's why the temporary is also important. But in terms of hierarchy, it is the eternal that is more important. So, does the Gita teach pessimism? It can seem like that. But it's not that simple. It is, for example, the Gita uses the word dukkhalem. This world is a place of distress. But what does that mean? If we take it literally, at the start of the Gita, Arjuna is in tears. And somewhere in the middle of the Gita 8.15, Krishna is telling, this world is dukkhalaya. So, Krishna could have said that, Arjuna, you are in tears, and now I have established how this world is a place of tears. So stay in tears. That's not the message of the Gita. In fact, by the end of the Gita, 1873 if you consider, Arjuna has become composed. Arjuna not just become composed, Arjuna has become confident. So it's fascinating that a message which is supposed to be pessimistic, apparently, actually removes Arjuna's grief. So how does that happen? So the seeming pessimism of the Gita is that there is some level of unavoidable distress in the world. So the distress the Gita talks about, I like to use the acronym IAS for this. IAS is a competitive Indian exam, many of you might know about it. So there is some distress that is inevitable. And this is the distress we all need to learn to live with. So this is endure or tolerate. For example, in some parts of the world, like Canada, the weather sometimes gets extremely cold. In some parts of India, like Rajasthan, or some parts of Africa, it becomes extremely hot. That's something we need to tolerate. Some distress is unavoidable, and that needs to be tolerated. So this is the import of 8.15. But then there is some distress that is avoidable. And this distress should be avoided. For example, Krishna talks about this in 5.22 in the Bhagavad Gita. That when we indulge in our senses, that leads to distress. Somebody takes too much alcohol and they become addicted and they have health issues and they have financial issues and they have relationship issues. All that is self-created distress. And this cannot be attributed to the nature of the world. So the Gita gives us guidance, it gives us wisdom, it gives us insight by which we can actually avoid this strength. It gives us the insight and the strength so that this distress can be avoided. And there is a third kind of distress that is actually a strengthening distress. There is pain that we go through which actually makes us stronger, which makes us wiser, which makes us purer. This Krishna talks about in 1837 in the Bhagavad Gita. Yattadagre vishamiva pariname amritopamam. That which tastes like poison in the beginning will taste like nectar in the end. And this is for example, if you want to learn a new language. It's not easy. We may mispronounce, sometimes we make a mess of things. But once you learn the language, it's a whole universe that opens for you. So similarly, if we learn self-discipline, it's not easy. But once we learn self-discipline, there are so many more doors for a better life open for us. If we learn to actually meditate, learn to keep ourselves spiritually connected, that'll give us so much strength in life. So the idea is the Gita is not pessimistic in the sense that, oh, the world is a place of distress, stay in distress. No, there is some amount of distress that is unavoidable. And if we try to avoid that, we fixate on avoiding that, we will only make ourselves more miserable. So accept that the world is not a perfect place, the world is a broken place, and there will always be some distress. So to that extent, the Gita is pessimistic. That no, we will never be able to eliminate distress from our life. But we can go through this distressful world to a better place. So basically, if you consider these three things that I talked about, that in this, just being in the world. Okay, let me put it slightly bigger feature now over here. There is the temporary, there is the eternal. So now we go through the temporary to the eternal. So while we are going through the temporary, now whether we are going upward or whether we are going downward, there's certain amount of distress that will be inevitable while we are in the world. So let me put a slightly different color over here for this. Okay. So as long as we are in the world, this distress is inevitable. Whether a person is a materialist or a spiritualist, everybody will face some distress. A theist or non-theist, everybody is going to face some distress. So that acknowledging it and acknowledging its unavoidability, to that extent the Gita is saying there's some distress is unavoidable in life, it's inevitable. But this distress is avoidable, going downward. Going away from the eternal, this is, seems initially enjoyable, but it will create distress in our life. And that's something to be avoided. So somebody can have unrestricted sexual indulgence, and that might give them some pleasure, but that can lead to loneliness, that can lead to lack of any close relationships, that can lead to eventually social disruption, that can lead to low self-worth, apart from all the biological, moral and spiritual reasons. Now, a person, if they start losing their attractiveness as they get older, now who am I really? What is my value? So there's a poison that comes in this world also which is unavoidable. Which will come, but it is avoidable if we don't indulge in that path. And moving upwards on this path also requires some suffering. But this is strengthening suffering. This is purifying suffering. So the Gita is definitely not a pessimistic book in the sense that, oh, you are in distress, stay in distress. This is all temporary, don't care for it. No, the Gita is saying once we understand something is temporary, change the way we engage with the temporary. Change the purpose for which we are engaging with the temporary. So we care for our body so that we can use the body to care for our soul. We care for our physical well-being, our economic well-being, so that we can focus on Krishna. So, in the Vedic tradition, there were kings. The kings would try to keep some political stability, so that when there's some political stability, people can focus on the spiritual. When there's too much disorder, Krishna says, I come to establish dharma in the world. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yugege. So Krishna is setting the temporary also in proper order, so that we can move towards the eternal. Okay. What does Krishna feel when he sees me? Is he silently upset but does not intervene to respect my free will? I was in America last year. I was traveling. I was being driven by one devotee, devotee's son. He's a young adult now. So he was telling me that we drove together for many programs, and he had a lot of interest in English literature. I also had a lot of interest in English literature, so we bonded over that. So one day he told me that I feel as if my parents don't love me at all. I said, I was staying at his place. I said, I see your parents, they really care for you. He says, yeah. He says, but it's like I feel that they care for a future version of me. and they're just tolerating the present me till the future version comes out. So then I told him, I talked with him about whether it is like that. But I told him, so I was thinking about it, that whether we feel like that with our parents or not, we often feel like that with Krishna. That does Krishna actually love my present me, or only when I become a pure devotee, when I can follow all the rules nicely, when I can do everything properly, then Krishna will love me? No, it's not like that. There is the present me and there is the potential me or the future me. So Krishna loves the present me also. And he cares for us. Of course, he wants us to be better. He sees the potential within us and he wants us to develop the potential. But it is not that Krishna is unhappy with us as we are. It's the way to understand this is, if Krishna is at the center, then around Krishna there are many circles of love. So in the innermost circle might be the gopis of Vrindavan. Then there might be the pure devotees in the spiritual world. Then there might be pure devotees in this world. Then there are devotees who are sadhakas. And like that, these circles can keep expanding. And every single living being is there in one of these circles. So nobody is outside the circle of Krishna's love. Krishna says, Suhrudam sarva bhutanam. He says, I am the well-wisher of everyone. I care for everyone. Now, of course, if we are in a circle over here, we would like to move towards the inner circle. So it is Krishna's love that he will, no matter whatever happens, we will always be in one of the circles of love. But it is our love that we try to move towards the inner circle. That means we try to become more committed, we try to become more dedicated to serving Krishna. So is Krishna unhappy with us? Yeah, if we do something bad, Krishna is unhappy. But that doesn't mean he ever rejects us. That doesn't mean he abandons us. So Krishna is always with us and he will always be with us. We are finite beings. And as finite beings, we do not have the power to make our infinite Lord stop loving us. We don't have that power, and that is our good fortune. How to protect ourselves from getting false pride in USG? What is USG? What is the difference between false pride and false ego? Okay. This is very clear handwriting, but it's not clear what is the word. You know what is it? What is it written? USG?
Us.
Us. It's a very stylish us. Okay. That is false pride. I'm joking. Now, in general, pride is just something which everybody can experience. Now, there are different words. Somehow the meanings of word changes. Like say for nowadays, the word wicked has got a very positive connotation. Like young people may say, oh, it is a wicked party. Wicked means it is a very good party. A great party. Or I saw in a medical book, like example, if a newborn baby gives a lusty cry, that indicates that it has a healthy lungs. So lusty means energetic. So the words have changed their meanings with time. So the word pride, it's on a spectrum. On one side is honor. The other side is arrogance. So you may have seen like there's hotel pride, hotel executive pride. I traveled across the world. I have never seen any hotel arrogance till now. Is it? So the idea is that we all need a sense of self-worth in life. The world is so large and we are so tiny, and nowadays with social media everything, we feel we are compared with everyone in the world. So it's natural to feel insecure. And quite often, what is the opposite of pride? Alright, what we are taught? Humility. So, while this is true, this is only incomplete. Actually, there are not two but three elements involved in this. Like you could say, it's our vision of ourselves. How we look at ourselves, there will be a pendulum in that. On one side is ego. Ego, pride, arrogance, there's something similar, but I'll look at it. One side is ego. The other side is not humility, it is insecurity. So ego is where we think we are better than what we are. And insecurity is we don't believe that we are as good actually as we are. We are constantly having self-doubt about our own ability, our own worth, our own intelligence. Now, in between these two is humility. In Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, we have Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So, ego is Mayavad. Basically, I can do everything, I am everything, I am God. That is ego. On the other side is insecurity, which is I am nothing, I can't do anything, I am nothing. This is Shunyavad. But humility is that Mamaivaamsho Jivaloke. So I am something, I can do some things. So quite often when the emphasis is don't have pride, don't have ego, and that is not explained without this differentiation, in the name of giving up pride, we end up with insecurity and self-doubt. And that is just as damaging as ego. Sometimes it can be more damaging. Generally, ego will be in Rajoguna, insecurity will be in Tamoguna. And tamas is worse in many ways. So humility is actually Sattva-guna. Now humility, if it is accompanied with God consciousness, that's even better. It can take us towards Krishna. So how do we give up ego? How do we protect ourselves from ego? It's not by going towards insecurity. It is by remembering two things. So generally, basically what happens is ego comes from our abilities. Generally we get ego from what we are able to do. Our ability, oh I am good at this, I am so good at that. And insecurity comes from our inabilities. So it's that we may not be able to do something at all, and whatever we are able to do also we may feel that I am not able to do it as well as I would like to do. So now for us, when there is humility, it means that we see that our abilities come from God. That Paurusham Rishu Krishna says, I am ability in human beings. So the way we protect ourselves from pride is not by denying or downplaying our abilities, but it is by remembering that our abilities come from Krishna. They are gifts given to us by Krishna. And to the extent we remember that, every time there is some special thing we are able to do, instead of becoming intoxicated with how clever I am, how good I am, how smart I am, we'll feel grateful to Krishna. That Krishna is using me. That Krishna has kindly given me this ability, let me use it. And our inabilities, they can remind us that I am not God. What I have has come from God and I am not God. So these two things. So rather than thinking, when we find that, okay, I am not able to do something and someone else is able to do it much better than me, so that will lead us to insecurity if we just fixate on that. But if we remember that, okay, I am not God. God has given different people different abilities. And I will use the abilities that I have. I will play the part that I want to, that I can play. And Krishna has a part for everyone in his plan. So, because Mamaivaamsho Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. We are always parts of Krishna. That means we are always on Team Krishna. We will never be thrown out of that team. Each one of us has a different part. If there is a cricket team, somebody is the opening batsman, somebody is the bowler, somebody is the wicket keeper, somebody is a spin bowler, whatever. Everybody has a part. So we all, according to our abilities, have some part. So we should not feel insecure. So it's like insecurity means, oh, I have no part at all. I am worthless. That I can do nothing for Krishna. I have no worth at all. I will not be in Krishna's team. Now, arrogance is what? Krishna is lucky to have me in his team. So humility is I have a part. Let me try to understand what my part is. Let me try to develop my part. And let me excel in the part that I can play right now. Okay. Now, is there a difference between... now, generally speaking, so if these words honor, this generally refers to self-worth. Now, to some extent, our self-worth also comes from how others respect us. But more important than how much others honor us is how much we honor ourselves. Like when we say honor your word. Why should we honor our word? Because when we honor our word, that's how we will be able to develop respect for ourselves. Each time we make a promise and don't keep it. Now, we may or may not be held accountable by others. But each time we don't keep a promise that we make, we will fall down in our own eyes. We will start believing that we are not trustworthy. And so, that honor in the sense of having a healthy self-worth or self-esteem is important. But arrogance, so now the word pride can also sometimes refer to self-worth, but arrogance is something which you definitely don't want. Arrogance is basically like, I am God, I am everything. So, when the word ego is used, does it refer to pride? Is there any difference between false ego and false pride? It depends. Rather than fixating on terms, focus more on the conceptions underlying it. The conception, is my relationship with myself healthy? Is my vision of myself such that it's focused more on Krishna and what Krishna has given me rather than what I can do or what I can't do? Okay. How to balance bhakti with life while unclear and constant failures occur? So are we talking about failures in our bhakti life or in other aspects of our life?
Here's one question from here.
Okay. Okay. What are you looking at?
No, I'm looking at someone if they're commenting here because
Okay.
the questions are also coming from outside.
Okay, fine. So, two things over here. That failure will be discouraging. And even failures can be of two kinds. Those the cause is known and the cause is unknown. Now, for example, say we we applied for an exam and we failed in that exam. We applied for an interview for a job and we didn't get the job. Now, sometimes the cause is known. Okay, we should have scored this much marks, but we got less marks because of that we don't get through. But sometimes when some failure comes, we can't even figure out what happened exactly. Maybe we were doing a particular service and suddenly we were told, stop doing it, don't do this service anymore. We were in a relationship and suddenly the other person just ghosts us. We don't know what exactly happened. So among these two, which is more difficult to bear? Unknown. Yeah, because what happens is, when the cause is unknown, our mind starts overthinking about what is the cause. And then we start imagining what the cause is. And that's where it becomes a problem. So now, if the cause is, generally speaking, we don't just process events objectively. We all process events subjectively. By subjectively, what I mean is that the same event can have different degrees of impact on different people. So, for example, we all will face some kind of loss in life. So, when you face loss, maybe we lose a job, maybe we lose some money we have invested, maybe we lose some friendship, whatever, we face loss. Now we could interpret that loss as I have lost. Okay, I applied for this job, it didn't work out. I wanted to do the service, it didn't work out. Now it is objective. You could say this is reading in sattva. When the mind is peaceful, okay, I lost it. It is stressing, but life goes on, there will be other opportunities come. But a more damaging would be I am lost. Here we are not just lost possession or opportunity, we feel as if we have lost direction in life itself. This is much more damaging. This is in Rajas. The most damaging is I am a loser. This is in Tamas. So when somebody starts interpreting something like that, I am a loser, that can be toxic. It's tamasic and toxic. So when this happens, sometimes people may even want to just quit everything. So for us, now why would somebody think that I'm a loser because a particular relationship didn't work out, a particular job didn't work out, a particular opportunity didn't work out? Because their self-worth is too tied to that particular thing. So for us, to the extent we are practicing bhakti, bhakti is not just another activity that we do along with all our activities in life. Now our sense of self-worth, there are two sources of self-worth. There is extrinsic self-worth and there is intrinsic self-worth. Now intrinsic self-worth comes from understanding that we are all parts of Krishna. And we will always be parts of Krishna. Krishna always cares for us. Therefore, we always have spiritual value. So, intrinsic self-worth comes from realizing who we are at our core. When people talk about intrinsic self-worth, people may say that, don't care what the world thinks about you. Like I saw a T-shirt, where a person, young man had said that, I don't care what you think about me. But then, I don't care what you think about me, and I want you to know that I don't care. And in that sense, I care. Isn't it? So we cannot be completely socially disconnected. Now, how people see us does affect us, and especially in youth, in teenage and youth, before we have formed our own identity, before we have something to anchor ourselves to, either a family or a job or a qualification or some distinctive role by which we are contributing, then there's always that feeling of insecurity is there. So extrinsic self-worth comes by when we are recognized for what we do. When we are recognized for what we do. So ideally speaking, society needs to be structured in such a way that every individual is given some extrinsic self-worth while also being taught to develop intrinsic self-worth. So our bhakti practice needs to connect us with Krishna. And it's not just following this rule and that rule. It is meant to actually help us develop intrinsic self-worth. And to the extent we have developed intrinsic self-worth, to that extent, we will find that we will be able to be better situated. We will face life's failures without letting them have a devastating effect on our morale, our inspiration, our motivation. How to attain Krishna Bhakti in this life before old age? Which element gives momentum in Bhakti, which leads to Prema Bhakti? When I know, I'll find out, I tell you. I think, we are too worried about the goal. It's like Bhakti is about a relationship. It is the joy is in the journey also. It is not that Krishna becomes enjoyable when we become pure devotees, and till then it's all miserable. No, it's a relationship, and that relationship is possible right now. It's not that Krishna will love us when we become pure devotees. Don't worry so much about developing a pure love for Krishna at the end of this lifetime. Just understand it's a relationship and try to build that relationship. Now, how do we build a relationship normally? Well, generally, first is we spend time with that person. So, our chanting, our reading about Krishna, or worshipping Krishna, the way we spend time. And if we are in a serious relationship, and even if we are not spending time with that person, we are doing something for that person. Isn't it? If parents care for the child, parents love to spend time with their small child. And even when they are not with their child, what are they doing? Okay, I'm going to get this toy for my child, I'm going to do this, I'm getting this job so that I can do this. So basically, remembering and serving. That is the way we develop a relationship with anyone. So while we are with someone, we try to spend as much time as we can, cherish every moment. And when we are not with that person, we try to do something for that person. So basically, if we do these things, if we consider it's a relationship with Krishna, and we focus more on the principle of relationship, rather than thinking of it as a race, that it's a race that we have to win. That's a very superficial conception. It's not that when we get to the destination, okay, then the relationship will develop. No, it's the relationship itself is what is constantly developing. So one is, general relationship is done two ways. One is we spend time. And then we do things. We spend time with the other person and we do things for the other person. So look at the various activities of bhakti and which are the activities that connect you most with Krishna. For some of us it may be kirtans, for some of us it may be classes, for some of us it may be worshipping the deities, for some of us it may be chanting the holy names, for some of us it may be reading Krishna's pastimes. So whatever helps you feel connected with Krishna, try to spend time in that as much as you can. And along with that, do things for Krishna. So try to take up some responsibility, do some service. Even if we had all the time in the world, we can't spend all the time with Krishna. Now if we just told read Krishna book or read Bhagavatam or do Kirtan 24 hours a day, or even whatever time you are awake, you won't be able to do that. Because we are young, we have energy, we want to do things. So among the various opportunities for service that we have, try to see what service you would like to do. What service do we have the talent for doing? Of course, within the academy that you're a part of, there are certain things, certain forms of training that will be important for you. You learn those. But while you're learning those skills, meeting those particular standards, be observing yourself to see, because each one of us has a unique relationship with Krishna. And we follow certain standard procedures, practices. But while following those standard practices, we all need to be observing ourselves to develop our personal relationship with Krishna. Okay?
Prabhu, sometimes it happens that since we are trying a lot of different things, and we like all of them. So how do we know that which one is for us?
Well, that's a good kind of problem. Some people have a problem of scarcity, others have a problem of plenty, isn't it? So there are so many services, I don't like any of the services. So many services, I like all the services. So which is a good problem to have? Yeah, I like all services. That's a good problem to have. Definitely better than the other problem. So then we could talk with our senior devotees and see what they feel is the greatest need. So generally, whenever we are functioning, there are these two things which are there. There is our interest or our inspiration. And there is the larger wholes. It could be the institution, it could be the community, whatever larger whole we are part of. The community's need. So ideally speaking, what we try to do is at the intersection of both. So our interest and the need of the community. So I have always been a very analytical, intellectual person. So I like to go deep into subjects. And when I go deep into subjects, many times the audience just gets lost. One devotee told me that, he hears my classes, he says, my classes is like an intellectual workout every time. So now, I'm not intentionally intellectual. That's just the way I think. But then I could go into very abstract levels of conceptual analysis of psychology and philosophy. That would be my interest, but that would not serve the audience needs. But if I just start telling simple, some sweet stories, I can do that. But I don't feel that is what I am meant to do. That's not my interest. So then I have to try to find out where something is of my interest and something which serves the audience needs also. So each one of us will have to find out that way so that our service can be valued. Yeah.
So I have a question related to the previous
Yeah.
that you were mentioning with the circles of love.
Surface of?
Circles of love.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I mean, how do we, as you said, like everyone is under those circles of love and Krishna is everyone. So, if someone wants to go to the inner circle, like, is that wrong? And what's the difference? Because if we are saying that Krishna, in the outer circle, Krishna loves someone less, then how do we understand Krishna's impartiality also?
Well, I would say it's not so much loves less as, I put it, it's not that simple. Say, like all parents love their children. But will parents trust their children? It depends. If a 3-year-old mother, if a mother of a 3-year-old says, I trust my child, then the government authority says, we don't trust you. Isn't it? Isn't it? The mother will love the child, but the child is not trustworthy at that time. Not because the child is bad or evil. Child is a judgment developed at that time. Isn't it? So, love itself has many degrees. Like say, if a parent has 2 children and one of them is responsible, you can count on that. If you do this, they'll do it. Take care of your sibling, they'll take care of your sibling. Then, will there be a greater proximity between the parent and that child? Naturally. But does that mean if the other child is not so responsible, will the parent not care for that child? The parent care for that child also. So, it's all love, but there are degrees of love. And this degrees, it's not discriminatory. It is Krishna does not discriminate. Krishna reciprocates. Ye thamam padyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. So 4:11 in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna never discriminates. That means any one of us, we can enter into the inner circle of love. So it is not Krishna who has placed us in an outer circle. It is we by our actions have gone into an outer circle. If we want to be in an inner circle, we can enter into the inner circle also. And is it wrong? Of course it's not wrong. Now we could say that we can't become Radharani or replace Radharani. So thinking that we can become better than or replace those who are close to Krishna, that would be presumptuous. But even the inner circle has many people in it. So we can also join the inner circle.
The only problem that I find here is is it wrong? Because if we are trying to be in the inner circle, it somehow develops envy also in us that, they are more closer to Krishna than us. So then how do we counter?
See, it's not a matter of envy, it's a matter of progression. Should a student, say, who is in first year in college, feel envious of those students who are in the 4th year of college or 3rd year of college? No, it's not a matter of envy. They have studied and that's how they've gone to a higher level. I study, I'll also go to the next level. So, if we neglect the principle of reciprocity, the relationship itself will lose meaning. Because if we say Krishna's love is equal for everyone, of course it's equal. But if it is equal, now somebody is dedicating their life for Krishna and somebody just, like I have reconnected with my college friends now, school and college friends. So one of them said, I go regularly to the temple. I said, wonderful. How regularly? He said, once a year at Janmashtami. So now, Somebody is dedicated their life to Krishna, and somebody is just occasionally, once a year, goes to a temple. Now, if Krishna were to in every way treat both of them equally, then it won't be a loving relationship. Isn't it? Loving relationship, there are two distinct features in a relationship, or in love, there are two distinct features. One is equality, and the other is reciprocity. If there is only equality, it doesn't work. Why does it not work? Because if there's only equality, the problem is, say nowadays this very egalitarian society, oh, everybody is equal, don't discriminate based on gender or race or religion or ethnicity, and all that is true. But even the most liberal person who is like the supreme advocate of equality, if they want to get married or they want to have a romantic relationship, say, okay, here there's a teeming mass of humanity, just pick up someone, everyone is equal. Nobody does that. Because we are relational creatures and relations work in a particular way. So there is, in a relationship, if there's only equality, that will lead to very emptiness in the relationship, eventually. Because the relationship will be, it's like, we'll have equal relationship with everyone and all the relationships will be equally empty. Like somebody has 1 million Facebook friends and you don't know anyone at all. So it's like, that's not going to fulfill the heart's need for friendship and relationships. So equality, only equality doesn't work. This is only reciprocity. Without equality, that will lead to discrimination. Now, you have not done anything for me, so I don't even acknowledge your existence. So in real relationships, there has to be a balance of both. So Krishna offers equal opportunity to everyone. And he reciprocates with everyone based on how they take the opportunity. So the equality is in providing opportunity. Krishna is present in the hearts of everyone as the Paramatma. Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishtu. He's there in everyone's heart. But reciprocity is, how much will we feel Krishna's presence in our heart? That depends on how much we have tried to attune ourselves to Krishna's presence. How much have we tried to turn toward Krishna? So reciprocity depends on how much the opportunity has been tapping of opportunity. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Nice question. How to maintain consistency in bhakti with so many uncertainties about job, marriage and future what future holds for us. How to balance all these together? Yeah, so consistency may not always be possible. That's why if we can't be consistent, we can be resilient. Consistent means I'll always be at a particular level in my practice. This is consistent. But resilient means if I can't be here, if I go down, I'll come up again. If I go down, I'll come up again. So we can try to be resilient because life is difficult. And sometimes certain areas, certain activities they just become overwhelming. Certain demands, life puts certain demands on us, which we may not always be able to balance with other areas of our life. Some things become important at particular times. That's okay. So what do I mean by resilient? That rather than thinking of spiritual life, bhakti or spiritual life, we don't have to look at it digitally. Digital means this is spiritual, above this is non-spiritual. If I cannot do this, then there's no spirituality. Rather, have a more analog view of spirituality. Analog means what? It's a range. So each one of us can decide in our spiritual practice, in our bhakti practice, we can have an aspirational level. Aspirational level means these are what maybe I would like to read Bhagavad Gita every day, read scripture every day for 1 hour. I would like to hear some classes. I would like to complete my mantra chanting early in the morning, whatever. We can have an aspirational level. And we can have a non-negotiable level. No matter how busy life becomes, maybe I'm going to come for a weekly program, or I'm going to do these many rounds of chanting. I'm going to do at least this much. So try to have a range. We would like to be at the aspirational level, but if we can't be, we don't have to go from there to zero. Have some non-negotiable level. And this we can apply not just in our spiritual life, in other areas of life also. With respect to our job, for example. Sometimes, we might need to spend a certain amount of time on the job because it's an urgent deadline and we may have to spend more time. So sometimes that's what is required. So that could be a high level. But then we shouldn't be doing so little in the job that we get fired. We shouldn't be doing so little in the job that we are like a parasite on the company where we are working. Where we are taking money from them but we are not doing anything for them. So there should be a non-negotiable level. So if you see this as a spectrum, it's an analog vision of spirituality, then it becomes easier to balance. Because if all the areas of my life I want to be at an aspirational level, it's just not going to work. If I'm a speaker, for example, and I have late night programs and after that people want to talk, I'm going to meet them only once a year. If I say I want to talk with them and then I want to wake up early in the morning also. So if I sleep late and wake up early in the morning, I can do it once, twice, thrice. But if I have to every day I want to do it, they say we can't burn the candle on both sides. It will collapse. And we have to decide what needs to give when. So each one of us will have to have that spectrum and we function accordingly. How do we know what we really want and are ready for commitment for initiation now? Well, we can never know what all desires lie inside us. Because just like when you get to know someone, there are always layers to people's personality. And we might know someone for 5 years or 10 years and then we come to know something new about that person. The same applies to ourselves also. If we are observant, we can come to know something more about ourselves also. So what we can do is, when we talk about our desires are also multi-level. There are surface desires. Surface desires means, I see somebody's got a new phone, I also want a new phone. Somebody is having this kind of clothes, this kind of hairstyle, this kind of this, I want to get that. This is largely the desires are. Surface means from outside they have come in. And there are deeper desires. And below there are the deepest desires. So deeper desires are more what come from inside out. Deepest are, they may take a long time to come out for us to discover also. So right now, our desire for Krishna should be strong enough that we are convinced that we will stay connected with Krishna at a non-negotiable level of practice, no matter what happens in our life. So now, will that desire stay just as strong for the rest of our life? No, nobody can guarantee that. But desires don't exist in a vacuum. Desires can either be made strong or they can be made weak. So if we stay in the association of devotees, if we are practicing bhakti, our desire for Krishna will stay strong and it will become stronger. And if we just give up the practices of bhakti, give up association, the desires will become weaker. So in that sense, what we can say is that if our particular desire is strong right now and it is based on a certain level of philosophical understanding, then it is reasonable that we will be able to maintain that level of desire in future also. And generally initiation should not be rushed into. At least some time we need to spend. Normally the initiation requirement is 1 year or so. Sometimes it's 2 years or whatever. But don't rush into initiation because somehow we have developed this conception of spiritual life as a race. Spiritual life is not a race, it's a relationship. And somebody may not have initiation and still they may have a very serious relationship with Krishna. Somebody may have initiation and still they may be very casual about their relationship with Krishna also. So that's why don't be, certainly it's a significant landmark in the furthering of the formalization of our commitment to develop our relationship with Krishna. So it's important, but don't make it like a 1-0 thing. If I'm not initiated, everything is useless. The relationship is always developing, whether we are initiated or not. Okay. Well, there are a lot of questions. I don't think I can answer all of them. We'll take one or two more. Do any of you have any pressing questions? For those of you present, I would like to give priority to them. Okay. I sometimes find Prabhupada's or other devotees' approach to spirituality dogmatic, which makes me feel guilty and question if this is for me. What can I do about this? The thing is that Srila Prabhupada was very vast in his vision of how to share Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada offered like a giant umbrella. And within that giant umbrella, there are times when he was, in some parts you could say he was more conservative. And then there are some parts where he was more liberal. So now what do these words conservative and liberal use the word dogmatic? But what does it mean basically? See, if this is the tradition and this is the contemporary world. So if we consider this, then the institution, it exists at the intersection of these two. There is a tradition. Tradition is what connects us with the past. And the contemporary world is where we live in. And we need to connect with the contemporary world. So the institution needs to be connected with the past. The current institution needs to have connections with the past, and it needs to have connections with the present. So the connection with the past is faithfulness, or you could use the English word fidelity. Faithfulness is what connects us with the past, and resourcefulness is what connects us with the present. So Srila Prabhupada, for example, when he came to America, he adopted some of the counterculture vocabulary like stay high forever, Sunday love feast. And those were terms which were used by the counterculture. Prabhupada used those. So Rath Yatra, a festival of the chariots. So there are terms which are used like that. So, and there are many things like that. If you say the Govindam Adi Purusham. Govindam Adi Purusham itself is a very traditional Vedic song, Vedic verse. But the way it is sung, it's a Westerner. George Harrison is singing it with his group of musicians, and the music along with it is quite modern. It's a fusion almost. So there are many ways Prabhupada focused on connecting with the tradition. There are many ways where Prabhupada connect with the modernity also, with the contemporary world. So generally, conservatives are concerned more about staying connected with the tradition. Liberals are more concerned with staying connected with the contemporary world. Now, who is more important? Well, both are required. Every tradition will require conservatives, every tradition will require liberals. Now, if we become too conservative, then what happens? We just become a museum exhibit. Oh, there are a group of people who used to live like that and dress like that and sing like that, and just they're irrelevant. But if we become only connected with the contemporary world, if we become too liberal, then we become a fashion fad. Fashion fad means, today people like this, let's do this. Tomorrow people like this, let's do that. We lose our connection with the tradition. So we need both. We need to have a connection with the past, and we need to have a connection with the present, both. So if we are finding that Srila Prabhupada is seeming too dogmatic, that's often because we are fixating on certain statements of Srila Prabhupada. But there are other statements where he is also liberal. And regarding devotees, yes, there are different devotees of different kinds. And it is said Srila Prabhupada built a house in which the whole world can live. So Srila Prabhupada's house is so big that conservatives can live inside it, and liberals can also live inside it. But that does not mean that anybody can live in any of the rooms in this house. Those who are a little more liberal minded, they may not be able to live in the conservative rooms. Those who are conservative minded, they may not be able to live in the liberal rooms. And that's fair enough. So that's why initially we look for devotee association. But eventually, as we need to grow spiritually, we need like-minded association. Sajatiya Sangha, like-minded association is needed. So we need to, if we find certain things to be dogmatic, don't think the whole movement is like that or all devotees are like that. Try to focus more on connecting with those devotees with whom we can connect with. Like-minded association means, I say there are 3 features to this. First is when somebody I could say put it like-minded guide, you can put it. What does that mean? First is we understand their mind. That means the way they explain things, it makes sense to us. Sometimes we ask a logical question and somebody would may quote a scriptural verse to give an answer. Well, I already know scripture says that, but how do I make sense of it? Sometimes, so that answer does not really answer our question, or the answer does not satisfy us. So do we understand their mind? That's the first thing. Second is, then they understand our mind. That means when we ask some questions, they don't immediately judge and label us. Hey, how can you doubt like this? How can you question like this? They understand where we are coming from. And third is, they help us understand our mind. Okay, you are thinking like this. Until this point, you're right, but you're overlooking this side. You're overlooking that side. So they help us understand our mind. So if you can find even 1 or 2 people like this, it's extremely fortunate. So it is eventually our responsibility to find like-minded association. But initially, if we find some devotees classes or some aspects of Srila Prabhupada's teachings something you're not very comfortable about, then we don't have to immediately think that reduce Krishna consciousness to this and I have to accept this only. And if I don't accept this, I'm a bad devotee. Not like that. There are many aspects of Krishna consciousness and we can focus on those which help us come to Krishna in a way that is faithful to our head and our heart. I think a similar question. I struggle to value spiritual life and culture. It doesn't feel restrictive, but it doesn't feel true to me either. How can I resolve this? Is spirituality just not for me? Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say spirituality is not for me. It could be that particular aspects of spirituality may not be what we are comfortable with. And that's fair enough. So, if we, rather than thinking of spirituality as 1 or 0, explore spirituality. Explore that in Krishna consciousness also there are many different manifestations of Krishna consciousness. I travel across the world, so each temple I go to, I stay for 2-3 days, I interact with the devotees and leaders over there. Every center has its own ethos. And I try to serve wherever I go by sharing whatever I have learned. But I understand that each place has its own ethos. So yes, if some aspects don't feel true for you, that's understandable. But then can we say that nothing of it feels true to you? So if whatever feels true, you can focus on that. And whatever doesn't feel true, instead of simply rejecting that right now, maybe make a time-bound commitment to explore. Because sometimes our feelings can also be unreliable. There are so many things which are bad for us, which feel attractive. And there are so many things which are good for us, which just don't feel attractive. So we can't discount our feelings with respect to our feelings. There are 2 extremes. One is rely exclusively on them. That if I don't feel good doing something, I'll not do it. If we'll do like this, then we'll never be able to do anything worthwhile in our life. Because even the things we like to do, we won't like them all the time. Even if somebody likes music, for example. It's not that even top musicians love everything about music all the time. They may like music, but then sometimes some particular song is not being composed properly, some particular way they're not able to perform. It can be frustrating. So if we rely exclusively on emotions, we will not be able to work. Then if we reject totally our emotions, that's also not going to work. So emotions, how do you see our feelings? They are as one source of information. Don't make them the sole source of information, and don't consider that they have no information in it at all. So yes, it may not feel true to me in this particular area, but maybe by the practice of spiritual life, I am changing for the better in other areas of my life. Yeah, maybe chanting a mantra so many times, or worshipping in this particular way, or wearing this kind of clothes doesn't feel true to me. Okay, maybe it may or may not be. But if by doing that I can see maybe my anger is going down, or I'm becoming more calm, I'm becoming less irritated or less disheartened by by things, by life's ups and downs. There are other areas where changes are happening. So what that means, that these feelings may not be a reliable parameter for me to decide whether I should push on in this particular path or not. So bhakti is about emotions, but it's not just about emotions. It's about a relationship. It's about a commitment to a relationship. And within that, sometimes there can be pain and discomfort and anxiety also. So if we consider real relationship with anyone, now there is naturally happiness and joy, but that's not the only thing. Sometimes, say, if a couple get married, and then if they have a attraction towards each other, they're happy in each other's presence. But is that the only emotion all the time? No, if they have a child and the child has had some accident, child in the hospital, and both of them working, and both of them get a phone call, they come, and they're waiting, maybe holding each other's hand, waiting for what news, what's happening to the child, the surgery is going on inside. So in that anxiety also, they're coming closer to each other. So anxiety is not a pleasant emotion, but anxiety can also bond two people together. So to think that the pleasant emotions are all that life should be about, or bhakti should be about, that is, we are selling ourselves short in a relationship. If you want a real relationship with Krishna, it will have all emotions. It will have a variety of emotions. Sometimes there will be anxiety, sometimes there will be fear, sometimes there will be tension. Sometimes a devotee may be very serious about something, and that's why they may get frustrated also, they may get angry also. You may have seen that image of Krishna charging towards Bhishma, to attack Bhishma when Bhishma is about to, on the verge of attacking and killing Arjuna. Krishna is angry at that time. But that anger is an expression of his love. Narasimhadev is angry with Hiranyakashipu. That anger is an expression of love. So bhakti is not just about pleasant emotions. Emotions that make us feel good. Sometimes the emotions themselves may be unpleasant, but those unpleasant emotions can actually strengthen the relationship. And if we understand this, then we won't just reject bhakti based on, okay, this doesn't feel true, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel true. So now that doesn't mean every unpleasant emotion is going to strengthen the relationship. Obviously not. Some unpleasant emotion can break the relationship also. So the emotions themselves are one source of information, an important source of information, but they are not the sole source of information. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I think we heard some profound answers for a lot of these questions.
Yes.
Thanks to all of you for putting together a good set of questions to make this time fruitful. So this is the first event of Prabhu's trip to Toronto this time. He is scheduled to speak for 2 more events at our temple. That is tomorrow evening, Saturday 6:30 p.m. We'll be at the temple hall. and then our weekly Sunday feast program, again 6:30 p.m. at the Temple Hall. There are a few other events happening within the GTA. The details are on the Temple group, so if any of you are interested, you're welcome to attend all these events. Thank you all. Once again, can we show our gratitude and appreciation?
I also appreciate how thoughtful.
On the book.
You have it here?
Yes.
Okay, just quickly.
You also have 2 books.
Can you get the books?
Yes, I can.
So I have written some 30 books. These are my latest books, 2 books. This is for like some of the questions about balancing various aspects of life. A lot of those are answered in this book. Also about emotional management. This is Gita for the CEO. It's published by HarperCollins, which is one of the biggest publishers in the world. And basically, in the corporate world nowadays, there's a lot of interest in learning things from ancient or classical thought system. So from Greece, there's the Stoicism, which has become quite popular. From Japan, Ikigai has become popular. So here I have taken the Gita's wisdom. Like I was drawing some simple illustrations and like that the conceptographics are there which explain the concepts. So this is 10 principles how to be mindful and process our emotions better. How to tap the power of speech and be more effective in inspiring, motivating others. How to keep small things small. The one is a title called The 10 Principles, Life Determines Our Problems, We Determine Their Size. This is a book which is available and it's also suitable for giving to your friends and colleagues who may not be ready to read the Gita directly, but they can connect with a book like this. This is Prayers Inspired by Bhagavad Gita. This has, each chapter is one beautiful deity of Krishna, then one spiritual affirmation, which is, help me to help others learn. Let me become a spiritual fruit, not a religious nut. So, each of these is like a spiritual affirmation. And then I have taken a Gita verse and then I have rendered the Gita verse in English poetry. And after that, there is a prayer reflection on the verse. So there is, many devotees told me this has helped them a lot in their daily chanting. Just read in a few minutes before and then chant. And then there's a very accessible table of contents. So whatever is your particular emotional need at that particular time. There are prayers when we are feeling spiritually dry or disconnected. There are prayers when we are feeling lost and disoriented in life. There are prayers when we're feeling lonely or abandoned. There are a special number of prayers when our cravings are rising and we feel that our desires are driving us in an unhealthy direction. So there are prayers when we feel as if we are failing in our spiritual practices and commitments. So that these 2 books are available. And if any of you have any, if you'd like to have these books, I'm also here for some time to sign the books. Otherwise, I'll be here on Saturday and we can talk at that time also. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.